Welcome to Deployment Diaries, a podcast brought to you by Dogs on Deployment. I'm your host, Kylie O'Neill, the Marketing and Communications Director for Dogs on Deployment, and I am thrilled to have you join us today. Deployment Diaries is dedicated to sharing the heartfelt stories of military members, veterans, first responders, and their beloved pets. In each episode, we dive into the personal experiences of those who have benefited from our programs, highlighting the incredible bond between America's heroes and their pets, and the generous volunteers who make it all possible. Today, we have an incredibly special episode featuring Brent Carlson and his wife Amelia, who are the proud owners of Nala, Dogs on Deployment's 2025 American Hero Pet of the Year and mascot. But Nala isn't just a mascot. She's a testament to strength, a source of optimism, and a reminder that life is a gift. In this episode, we talk about the power of resilience and how Nala's story has now come full circle as she represents the organization that helped keep her family together. It's an emotional and inspiring conversation that you won't want to miss. Well, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Deployment Diaries. I'm your host, Kylie. I'm the Marketing and Communications Director at Dogs on Deployment, and I am so excited for who I have sitting down and talking with us today. Our 2025 American Hero Pet of the Year winner, Nala, was just recently announced, and today I am sitting down with her owner and service member, Brent Carlson, and his beautiful wife, Amelia. Thank you guys so much for joining me today.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to talk with you and get to learn more about both you and Nala. So, Brent, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your military background?
Well, I joined the Tennessee Army National Guard in 2008. Went to basic and AIT at Fort Leonard Wood. And immediately when I came into my unit, I was the kind that if there was something coming up, I'd volunteer, get in right on it. And so I did my first mission as a PFC, and I've kept right on doing that. I've been in for 16 years, and I've had 3 deployments. First one was in 2012 through 2014, and that was at the Middle East. And then I had a second one in the Middle East in 2021 through 2022. And this last one was at the border. So I'm very proud of my service. I've also done stuff like tornado relief, hurricane relief, civil unrest, COVID, a bunch of haul missions for my state. And I'm just very proud of what I do. As a motor transport operator, my unit drives the HET, which is a really large vehicle. And we haul a lot of stuff for the state of Tennessee. So very proud of it.
Thank you so much for dedicating 16 years of your life to helping others.
Thank you.
Amelia, when did you come into Brent's life in this timeline?
Oh, well, we were married before he joined the service. But he and I both have fathers who were in the military. I come from like a 4-generation military family. And so military life wasn't anything new to me. But yeah, so we were married, I don't know, 4 or 5 years before he decided to join.
5 years.
That's awesome. So this is nothing new to either of you.
Like she said, my grandfather served in World War II in the Army Air Corps, and then my dad served in the Pennsylvania National Guard during the Vietnam era. He was a mechanic.
You go down.
So where did Nala start to come into your life during your 16 years of service? Tell us a little bit about her. And I know that there's a connection with another dog named Apache. I would love for our listeners to hear more about that.
There is. So when I was growing up as a kid, I had a fascination for Siberian Huskies. I'm not real sure why, other than you grew up and saw the sled dogs and that sort of thing.
Balto and
Yeah. And so we grew up on a farm, so we always had dogs, but most of them were rescues. And so I always told myself when I got in a position, I was going to get a husky. I don't know. It's been several years, probably 8, 9-ish. And so I started looking for one and found a breeder in Mississippi. We found Siberians of Wild Heart in Mississippi, and we got our first husky, which was Apache. And Apache was with us for about 6 or 7 years, got cancer, and we had to put him down. And so we put him down right before we got Nala, and I said I wasn't getting another one. I wasn't getting another one right now, wasn't doing it. And not very long afterwards, my best friend and I were in a vehicle, and I was scrolling through Facebook, and I saw her little picture pop up from the breeder going, "Hey, she needs a home." And I'm like, "Oh, but she's so cute." And so I sent
She is so cute.
was. And so I sent a message going, "Hey, is she still available?" And so then after I talked to the breeder about getting her, then I called him and be like, "So there's a
I did this thing.
I did this thing." And
and my response was, "Oh no."
yeah, it was like, "Oh no." And so I did not realize that she was actually related to Apache till we got more into speaking with the breeder. And she's like, "Oh, well, you know that her father was Apache's half brother." And
So cool.
so I'm like, "No." So we actually got to see her dad, which was Apache's half brother, when we picked her up. And but that's how she ended up with us. And she's just like him in a lot of ways, and then in a lot of ways she's not. So but so they're great dogs.
Yeah,
Sounds like a meant to be kind of.
she's the spokesman, just like Apache was. So, we know it's time to go out. We know it's time for dinner. It's on her, because that's what Apache did.
Yeah.
And the other thing she does, just like Apache, is she sits on the back porch on the very top and overlooks the whole backyard.
She's the boss.
Like she's the boss. She's the queen. She's in charge. And all the other dogs get off that top porch when she comes over.
That's too funny. Sounds like you said that she's queen and she's mouthy. It sounds like a typical husky. Oh my gosh, is she there? I see a note.
She is. It's playtime. Come here. You want to say hi? Come here.
Got it. There we go.
Oh my goodness. Hello, Nala. Oh my gosh, she is beautiful.
It is playtime with Bella. So it's track time. Okay. Now we're gonna say hi.
Oh my gosh, she's adorable. I love how she has the two different color eyes. She's adorable. I can totally see how one look at that picture and you're like, okay.
Yeah. So is she available?
It sounds like a totally meant to be kind of moment, especially with finding out that she's actually related to Apache. That's so cool. And I'm so excited and happy that she is in your life and that we're able to talk about her more with you. Oh, hello, Bella.
Bella.
Oh my goodness. Hello. Are you going to go play with your sister?
Yeah. They've been playing all morning. Bella's a little older. She's 9 though. So she plays for about 30 minutes and she's like, "Okay, I got to stop."
Now it's time for a nap.
Basically.
Yeah, which right now she just laid down.
Yeah. She won't get a nap with Nala though. Nala, get back over here in a minute. I want to play.
In true young dog fashion. So everything with Nala seemed to be growing great. What is some of your favorite things about her before everything changed?
Oh, well, I mean, everything for the most part. I mean, she's super smart, very intelligent dog, mouthy and stubborn. But she's super smart, super loving. But like he said earlier, she kind of becomes, even though we have an Anatolian Shepherd, she kind of becomes the boss. And but she keeps she keeps us laughing and smiling, and she doesn't really seem to dislike anything, and she's just happy with whatever. And
yeah, she's a little less picky and choosy about food. Like Apache was far more picky and choosy about food. Apache was one that had to have duck in it or he wouldn't eat it.
Stay away from
But she enjoys a variety of foods and treats. But Patchy, he was different. You couldn't give him anything that didn't have duck in it. He wouldn't eat it. So.
Well, and speaking of treats, I hear Operation Drool Overload, our collaboration with
Yeah.
Lazy Dog Cookie Company. I hear she's a huge fan.
Oh, she is.
Yeah.
She had some already.
Well, and he actually started while he was at the border. He actually started buying some from them anyway. So she had already fallen in love with them before we got the box of them, and so those became her favorites pretty quickly.
I saw the ad on Facebook and I said, "Oh, so this helps dogs on deployment." And I said to her, "Hey, I'm going to order some treats and send them over since it helps dogs on deployment." She said, "Well, that's great. Let's go ahead and do that." I said, "Okay, I just wanted to make sure you knew." And so I started ordering a box like once a month. While I was
That's
deployed.
awesome.
Yeah, so those became her favorites.
That's
Very
fantastic.
quickly.
And for our listeners who might not be familiar, Operation Drool Overload is a collaboration dog treat that Dogs on Deployment has with the Lazy Dog Cookie Company. This is a long-standing partnership, and as Brent mentioned, a portion of proceeds from every purchase of a bag of Lazy Dog cookies, Operation Drool Overload, goes to support military pets through Dogs on Deployment. So we're very, very excited about that collaboration that we've had for quite a long time, and so happy to hear that pets like Nala enjoy those. They are all natural. They're blueberry peanut butter, and I know in
Oh,
my
stay away
house.
from coffee.
Can't have the coffee, Noah.
Now you just gotta dip the Operation Drool Overload in the coffee. Be perfect. Yeah, but I know at least in my house, I can't say those words too loud. I actually need to be careful saying them today because if not, my dog comes running. She's obsessed with them too. So happy to hear that Nala had something special to enjoy while you were at the border, Brent. Um, so everything was going great, and I know I keep referring to everything changed. So for our listeners that might not be familiar with Nala's story, there was a significant milestone that happened in your life, and that was unfortunately a house fire. Can you take us back to that day? What was going through your head, especially pertaining to Nala?
Well, on my end, my wife Amelia sent me a text when we were getting ready to do shift. I was with my soldiers. Actually, my first sergeant was present. My platoon sergeant was present. They were getting ready to kind of evaluate how we do shift. And she sent me a text saying, "Call me. It's important. It's an emergency." So I called her. I told my guys, "Hey, it's going to be a minute." So I called her, and initially she said, August said the whole house burned down and all the animals are dead. And as soon as I heard that, I collapsed on my knees and fell on the floor face first and just cried and cried and cried and just said, "No, no, no." I mean, it just constant. And so Sergeant Russell, who's I'm good friends with in the unit, came up to me and said, "What's going on?" And I said, "Well, Amelia says the house is burnt completely down and all the animals are dead." And he was like, "Oh my God." And that was my response afterwards, was like, "Oh my God." And then my first sergeant and my platoon sergeant just like, were tapping me on the shoulder and saying, "It's going to be okay," And first sergeant said, "I'm going to get a hold of the chaplain." And the other thing is like, you got to focus, man. You got to call the insurance company. You're going to have to make that claim. But I mean, it was hard. I was out of it. Like I was just completely emotional in front of all my squad. And it was rough. I ain't gonna lie. I was freaked out and everything.
I
And
can't even
then,
imagine.
and then first sergeant got a hold of the chaplain. And so they moved me to another room to get me away from the public. And so we're waiting for the chaplain when she, I think she called back and said, "Hey, some of the dogs survived." And then she started telling me it was Nala and Bella and our daughters Diego and Barrett, our oldest dog. And so I felt a little bit better, So when the chaplain asked me about it, I was like, "Well, some of the dogs survived." And I said, I couldn't handle it if all of them had died. unfortunately, a short time later, after my leave, when I came back, Barrett died. He just couldn't hold on. He had a lot of lung damage.
I'm
But
sorry to hear that.
you know,
Well, we had two dogs that survived the actual fire that we had to put down. My daughter's dog, Boone, survived, but they had to put him down the next day because of lung damage and whatnot. And Barrett was he was just old anyway. He was 13, 14. But so he stayed alive for a bit, but then we had to put him down too.
I can't even imagine, and I appreciate you being willing to talk about this because I don't want to get emotional because I might know for me personally, my dog is my life. I love her. She's like a child to me. She goes everywhere. She's my best friend. I love her. So I can't even imagine getting that call, especially I want to also clarify for our listeners, Brent, weren't you deployed at the time? You weren't even home, correct?
I was right. I was at the border, getting ready. Like I said, I was getting ready to do my shift at the border when she told me to call her and told me the situation. And of course, I didn't work that night. That was the end of it. One of the guys that was in my squad was off that night, volunteered to work that shift. I didn't even have to worry about finding somebody to switch out like normal. Um, they called up the rest of my squad down and told him what happened, and he was like, "I'll step in for, Sergeant Carlson." So I really appreciate all my squad, especially that night. They stood behind me.
Well, and I'm so glad to hear that. That's something that is kind of hard to explain to those, like as a military spouse myself, the military community is very tight knit and close. And I'm so glad that they rallied around you in that moment. And something that I'm looking forward to talking more with you guys about throughout this conversation is from that point on, it sounds to me from what I know from your story, the community just rallied around you from that moment forward. And I'd like to talk a little bit about that actually, because once everything kind of like settled down and the fire was over, I know you guys started to have some complications when it came to making arrangements for your surviving pets, Bella and Nala. At what point and how did that kind of come up where you started to realize, like, unfortunately, we've reached this hurdle of going through this absolute devastation, but now we have another challenge in and of itself, which is caring for Bella and Nala amidst rebuilding your lives, kind of.
Well, I was actually in California when the fire happened. My daughter
Oh
was
no.
home. It was a birthday trip to see one of my best friends, and it got postponed twice because of the snow. I couldn't get back. And so I had finally called a meteorologist friend of mine, and I was like, "Look, when can I fly back? I'm in California." And
Right.
so I was already scheduled to fly back that next day after the fire anyway, finally. And so my daughter was home with her boyfriend, and so they managed to get the dogs. A neighbor said, "Look, we can just bring them here for the night during the house fire," but they couldn't keep them because, like we said at the time, we had five of them that had survived. Now Boone was put down the following day, but we ended up with four dogs. We needed to find homes for. Two of them were small, and then of course you've got the Anatolian Shepherd Bella, and then you've got Energizer Bunny Nala, and so the neighbor kept them for the night, and I called another friend of mine, and I was like, "Look, can you help me find a home for them?" Well, she had she was sick, but she looked at her husband and she said, "We've got to go get those dogs," and so they kept them over the weekend, but they had dogs, they couldn't keep them. And so we ended up, our church actually took up a collection that Sunday. And my best friend that I was with when we got Nala, they had come up to help. And So she called and she said, look, there's a lady from your church. I was in Dallas trying to get home with layovers. And she said, there's a lady at your church who they took up an offering and they've got money. I said, well, just tell her that go ahead and give it to you. And so we used most of that, well, a large portion of that money to help board them at the vet for a week, thinking we could find a home, surely with all the people that we knew. But again, it ended up being at least 3 dogs that we needed homes for, 4 at the moment since we had Barrett. Well, my brother took the 2 smallest ones in Alabama, but he couldn't take the big ones because he breeds large dogs. And so we tossed it back and forth a couple of times. They ended up being boarded at the vet. Then we ended up trying a few other places and a few other things, and they went back to the vet. And so they actually ended up 4 or 5 different situations and attempts to find the shepherd is our escape dog. So the escape issue was the problem. But we finally, for most of his military career, I was in the FRG. And so I went to the family readiness friend of mine, and I'm like, do you have any options? I'm out of options. We got to find some work for these dogs. And so she's like, look, I've never worked with them, but here you go. Here's the only one that I know of, but I don't know anybody who's ever used them. And so I just passed the information to him. I was like, look, I'm in the middle of trying to rebuild the house and work with contractors. You see if you can figure this out. And so that's how we kind of came across Dogs on Deployment.
And from there, I got, I did all the profile stuff, and it took a while to get all that because I had to get hold of our vet, old Hatchie, and get the records. And for a minute, it took a while to get it from them. They kept telling me to get it from the app, and I'm like, well, the app isn't letting me download anything, So they finally sent it to me on email, and then Linda was the one I was in contact with. And at first she told me that Nala couldn't be boarded because she needed to be spayed. And so I went through the process of the memorial fund so that I could get her pet chitted and then get her spayed and then get her, hooked up with a foster parent or boarder. And initially they had somebody from Memphis call us, and they were like, well, we can't take her, but we might know somebody else in Tennessee that can take her. Because I had been contacting some over in Mississippi, in Clarksville, Tennessee, and some in Kentucky, and hadn't gotten any responses. And so it turned out that the foster parent that Nala and Bella ended up with was the one that this person had contacted for us and had made the arrangements through Linda.
So I just wanted to clarify for our listeners some of the aspects of the Dogs on Deployment programs, just in case if they're not familiar. So Brent's talking about our Hero Pet Boarding Network, and you mentioned that Nala was not spayed, so at the time she wasn't able to enter. That is a policy that Dogs on Deployment has. We require pets that are a year of older to be spayed or neutered before entering the nationwide Hero Pet Boarding Network. That is because we do advocate for responsible pet ownership and spay and neuter being a part of that, with as far as population control, helping with some behavioral issues, and also ensuring that our boarders have one less thing that they need to worry about when it comes to taking on someone's pet. But where all of this also comes into play, Brent mentioned that he was able to apply for the Memorial Fund. And what he is referring to is our Rich Setzer Memorial Fund. And there is a multitude of financial assistance programs for military members and veterans that can apply through that fund, one of which is spay and neuter. So Nala was able to get a financial assistance grant to get spayed and get that arranged and then enter our Hero Pet Boarding Network. And you mentioned Linda a lot, so I did want to give her a shout out and some love. Linda is one of our longtime volunteers. She has done boarding before, to my knowledge. I could be mistaken, but I think she's done with that before. But she is one of our frontline customer service volunteers and works very closely with service members, getting everything taken care of in the network. So I'm really happy to hear that Linda was able to help you through a difficult situation. And thank you, Linda, for all that you do for Dogs on Deployment. She's amazing, and we can't say enough good things. And I'm really happy to hear that she was able to help you guys in this time. Um, all of that being,
Big help. She
yeah,
was real big help. Helped me all the way through to understand the process.
Dogs on Deployment, for those that might not know, we are a very small, we're a nationwide organization, but we are very small. It's a small team of 3 of us, and volunteers like Linda help us able to expand and help even more across the country, no matter where you are. So we couldn't genuinely do this without our boarders that took in, Nala and Bella. We couldn't do it without our volunteers. So Dogs on Deployment is so very appreciative. And you mentioned that Nala and Bella were actually both able to go with that same boarder um, for her foster placement. How important was that for Nala and Bella to be able to go to that same boarder together?
Well, it was super important for Bella. Nala kind of became her way to get through it. Bella's much older. Bella's 9 now, and we got her when she was 1. So all she really knew was the house and us. And Energizer Bunny over here just really didn't seem like it bothered her. In fact, when the boarder came to pick them up, she had the 2 large crates in the back of her vehicle, and she opened the door, and Nala just jumped in. It's like, okay, let's go. And I'm like, love you too. Bye. And so we had to pick Bella up to make her go. She didn't want to go. She didn't understand. And for a breed of dog that is kind of the guard dog of herds and whatnot, she'd lost half of her herd that she knew. And so I think it was super important. I think really Nala was the reason why Bella came through as much as she did. Now she's got she was depressed, and she wasn't real happy till she got home. But Nala didn't seem like it. She was like, "Come on, let's play, Bella. Come on, what's wrong with you? Come on." And so she does have a little bit. Nala has a little bit of anxiety, well, along with Bella now from the fire, um, but for the most part, I think it was more important for Bella than it was really Nala, and even us. We didn't realize how important it was till we got about halfway through it, and then realized that Bella was having such problems, but Nala kind of kept her kind of focused for the most part.
Well, in Dogs on Deployment's borders, I know you mentioned that the one that reached out to you wasn't even the one that ended up helping you, but it's something Dogs on Deployment really wants to continue to emphasize with, our borders, or even if you just follow us on social media, if you see a pet in need, please feel free to share that post with your friends and your family on your own page, because in this instance, especially, is a perfect example. You never know who knows who, and it can, mean getting that dog placed quickly by just sharing that information. But that being said, too, is these boarders, they're volunteers. They open up their homes to military, veteran, and first responder pets, and they're not just giving them a place to stay. They truly care about these pets. Dogs on deployment, we don't ask them to, and it's never expected, but so many of them just simply go above and beyond just because that's how much they care. They truly understand how important these pets are to their families, and they treat them as if they're their own when they have them. That being said, you were even able to go and visit Nala a couple of times at the boarder's house. And what was that like for you, and how much did that mean to you that they opened up their home not just to your pets, but also to you on numerous occasions?
Oh, well, it was super important for me and my daughter and this one. But it was nice just to be able to see them, and in the midst of all the process, to really, tell them, especially the shepherd, especially Nala, hey, we will come back. And so where did she go? Nala.
Come here, Nala.
There is one area of their house she's not allowed in.
She's like, "Oh, you're not paying attention. I'm
Right,
going to use
right.
this time."
And so but it was important. And actually, we went up to see them. Hi. See them around Bella's birthday, actually. And the border had made her like this dog little cake out of dog food and stuff. And so she had a little dog birthday cake while we were up there.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. But it was nice for us. It was encouraging for my daughter and for me to go up and be able to just visit and bring treats. And of course, we would send them the flea meds and that sort of thing. But it was nice to at least go see them a couple of times.
And for me,
Okay.
it's just a relief to see that both of them were together and, not separated and trying to coordinate all that, at least now I had only one person to try to send the food to or send the medication to, didn't have to try to send it to different people.
Absolutely. And something for our listeners as well. What Brent's referring to is Dogs on Deployment. So we are a free network, but the boarders are completely volunteer. We do not charge our service members for boarding, and the volunteers don't do either. But what we do ask the service members to maintain financial responsibility for the care of their pets. So while someone has a pet in their care of boarding, service members, we encourage them to either utilize things like auto ships from Chewy or supplying boarders at the time of drop off all of the food, treats, beds, toys, any of their care essentials that they'll need throughout their time of boarding. So that's what Brent's referring to. Is it was able. I mean, aside from it being easier for you guys, I'm so happy to hear that they were able to stay together. Especially, it sounds like Bella really needed that.
Yeah, Nala is still, of course, she's still very young, and especially in relation to Bella. So it did help. Bella wasn't much of a fan of Nala when we first got her because Bella was super super bonded to Apache, and so she was depressed after Apache was put down, and she wasn't real happy that we had another dog initially. But now they're Cheech and Chong. They're really, I think it would have been much worse on Bella if they would have been separated because she'd have felt like she lost another one. But they're best buddies. You see one outside, the other one wants to be outside.
Just not on the top stoop, right?
Not on the top step. That's Nala's throne right
That's
there.
Nala's throne.
So Nala, you talk a lot about she, seems to like have this really like outgoing, resilient personality. Didn't seem like, her situation was bothering her, and that was a big help to Bella and helping her cope with everything that was going on. How did that goofy, lovable, no cares in the world, husky personality help not just Bella but also you guys?
Well, it was a reminder that, when we would come see her, it was a reminder that, it doesn't, what's so bad, and so it was just kind of uplifting to have an attitude of, well, I mean, I, life is good. I don't know what your problem is, but life is fine for me. And so, she still has that attitude that all is well. And so it's one of those reminders, regardless of what happens. It could be worse. We could have possibly lost all of them. We thought we did initially. And if it wouldn't have been for the Bolivar Fire Department and for Chris Seaton, we would have. But yeah, she just has this attitude that nothing really bothers her. Like I said, after the fire, she has a little bit of anxiety, but she's a happy-go-lucky, and it's one of those. You're around an individual who's always positive. It makes it seem like it uplifts your spirits and makes you seem like life is good. And it could be, you're grateful for what you have, and so she's kind of the dog equivalent of that.
We're really thankful for Bolivar Fire Department for coming in and rescuing the dogs. The way our daughter explained is they heard the dogs barking and they didn't expect any of them to be alive, but they ran in while the fire was still very active and rescued them. And we're very thankful for that.
it doesn't matter if you're military, if you're, a first responder, pets for so many people are family. So thank you so much to the Boulevard Fire Department for everything that they did for your family because pets, they're wonderful. And I'm so deeply sorry for those that you did lose. And but I'm very happy that, I mean, Brent, you mentioned that that would have been it for you, that you wouldn't have been able to cope with the fact that all of them were gone. So I'm so very thankful that, Nala just continues to be herself, even with that little bit of anxiety that she's, you know, around and able to continue to be that positive ray of sunshine for your family. And to that note, she's bringing even more positivity into your life, not just because she is a resilient survivor and happy go lucky, but she is also Dogs on Deployment's 2025 American Hero Pet of the Year and mascot. What was it like for you and your family when you guys found out that she had officially been declared the winner for this year's contest?
I was super excited, real excited. She sent me the text, letting me know, and I was just like, "Yay!" And I was telling everybody about it. Like I was just super excited. Uh, couldn't believe it, honestly. We kind of thought that because she's a National Guard, we're a National Guard, we expected active duty people to get more votes and win, but we're thankful for all our friends and people in our unit, in my unit, and other units that I've served with in my deployments, how they stepped up, made votes for our dog Nala, and helped her get there because it was hard for us to believe that she made the top three, and then when she made the top three, we're like, we're praying she wins it, and it was just amazing. I mean, unbelievable.
So I want to clarify, I didn't know anything about it.
Oh no, you didn't?
I didn't even know that he had submitted her. When
So
he
this is payback for the surprise of wanting to get her. Surprise, she's in the contest.
is because he come home and he was like, "Oh, by the way, Nala's a finalist in Dogs of Deployment Mascot of the Year." Now, what? What? What did you do? And
What
he's
is
like,
this?
he's like, "Well, she's a finalist, and now we just need to get people to vote for her." I'm like, "Vote for what?" And so, but yeah, so I didn't even know she was submitted till she became a finalist, and then I told a friend of mine. Of course, I'm in media and have a lot of politician friends, and so I told one of the politicians, I said, I feel like a campaign manager sending text out, "Hey, I need your vote," and he said, "Welcome to politics." I said, "No, that's your arena, not mine." And so, but yeah, I wasn't even told that she was attempted to be submitted until she got a finalist. She's like, "Oh, by the way." Yeah, I guess it was payback for my, "Oh, by the way, so I did this."
It's definitely an oh, by the way, full circle.
Well, I saw the post on Facebook about the competition, and I was like, well, she's worthy of that. And so
Absolutely.
I did the initial write-up and submitted it. We're both good writers, so I wanted to make sure I did a really good write-up on her, and I read it a couple times, made sure, hey, I think this is going to be good, and then I submitted it, and like I said, I didn't expect nothing to come of it. And then when you guys posted her as one of the first set of finalists and for votes, that's when I said, oh, by the way, Nala's a finalist, but we got to get all our friends to vote for her. And she's like, what? And but we worked together, and she's like, you gotta get your guard friends and all the guys you've deployed with at all the different units. She's like, all your Colorado buddies that you were with when you were with the Colorado unit, and she's like, whoever else whatever buddies you have from other states that you had units with, that you deployed with. She's like, make sure they know to vote for Nala. So I went through the process, just posting on Facebook, sending texts. I had I'm a fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I had a group that I'm a member of, and I said, hey, I know this isn't related to the Steelers, but can I post this? And the group admin was like, sure, you're a good guy, you know, and we appreciate your service. So they helped too. It was like, there was other groups that was like, I'm not sure I can post this. They were veterans groups in Tennessee, and I'm not sure can I post this, you know, and they were like, and came back and said, yeah, go ahead. And so, yeah, we just spread the word out as best we could to any, you know, Facebook group that we were a member of, or, you know, that we got permission to post on, because, you know, a lot of them have rules about what you can post. And just really thankful that they all said, yeah, go ahead. And then, you know, like I said, all the friends that I had or people that I deployed with, I'm really thankful for.
Well, and for our listeners too, if you're not familiar with the American Hero Pet of the Year competition, this is a contest that Dogs on Deployment does yearly to find a new mascot. And um, the process for that starts off with we do ask for submissions, and it doesn't matter if you're active duty, National Guard, Reserve, or even just not. Back in 2024, we actually opened up the contest even further to include our first responders, so firefighters, police department, and if they have a furry friend that they could enter. And what that process then entails is what Brent's mentioned is we do open it up to a public voting period where we ask for public votes, and the top 3 from the public voting period actually then goes into a private voting session that is made up, you know, of our board of directors and a couple of other key members. And Nala did very much get into that top 3 without any question from that public voting round. And Brent, your writing abilities, I know you mentioned that you're really good at writing, and I wanted to continue to echo that. Nala's story is so impactful, but the way that you were able to convey just how much she means to you and your family during that time and in general really spoke to all of us. And we're so excited to have her as our 2025 mascot. She's amazing. And all of that being said, now that she is going to spend a lot of, you know, virtual time with our Dogs on Deployment team, she's going to be taking over our email newsletter for the next year. She's going to take over a lot of our social media as well and really be this, you know, example of what Dogs on Deployment does for, you know, any pet nationwide for our heroes. What do you hope that Nala's story will represent, not just for, you know, the pets of other service members or first responders, but, you know, just in general?
You actually laid down.
He's
That's a rare
like, oh no, don't tell me that. That means I'm really boring and I need to be. She's like, that Dog's an Deployment lady's a snooze.
No, Nala just brings a sense of uh, this was my second house fire in my life. When I
Oh, I'm
was
so sorry to hear that.
and in fact, ironically, when I was 9, my father had just returned from his deployment to Desert Storm,
Oh
and
gosh.
we had a house fire, but we didn't lose anybody but a parakeet in that fire.
Oh.
But so I think when, of course, it's a whole different world when you're an adult and it's your house and you have to go through insurance and contractors and all the things. But I think that for Nala, Nala is she's just a reminder that yes, things happen. Yes, your life doesn't go your way, not all the time, but there's always something positive and something to be grateful for. And life is a gift, you know. Her life and Bella's life, you know, they're gifts from the Bolivar Fire Department. And so, get out of my shoes. And so it's just a everyday reminder, regardless of what you're facing and regardless of the situations that happen, whether it's military or whether it's, you know, just life in general, that there's always a bright side to look at things. And Nala never gets down about anything, just like Apache. that we can't be more grateful for the quality of dogs that, Evelyn at Siberians of Wildheart produces. And so it's just kind of a testament to the resiliency of dogs. Reminds you that if a dog can be that resilient, we're humans. We should be able to think a little bit more positively. And so, I mean, if anything, um, it's just one of those stories that you can survive, that other people are there. We really had no idea the magnitude of people. Our church had delivered money to my friend before I even touched down coming back from California. And so you really don't know the extent of your community and your tribe, so to speak, until you need them. And so I think for her, she's a survivor and a constant reminder that, life is a gift, and every part of life is a gift, and something good, comes out of anything bad.
I think on my end of it, the Army teaches us about resiliency, and we go through the resiliency training every year. And I just hope that NALA, is that reminder to all service members that resiliency is important, gets you through things. And I think that's the biggest thing about NALA is that's part of the reason I wrote up that she exemplified the Army value, well, not Army value, but the Army teaching us about resilience. And no, it's not an official Army value. It's something that us soldiers do value, especially when you're deployed or going through some stuff, So that was my thing, was she exemplified that, as a military dog, as an Army dog.
Well, Nala is definitely amazing, and Dogs on Deployment is so appreciative that you were willing to share her story with us. And that's why we couldn't be more excited to have her as our 2025 American Hero Pet of the Year and mascot. She's amazing. I wish I could, scratch her little floofy face in person because she's adorable. And we're very excited to have her and really appreciate you taking the time to share her story with us. And yeah, we're so excited to see what 2025 holds with Nala.
We are too.
We are too. We've already seen a few posts like the Valentine's post and all that, and we've been sharing it. And, we just look forward to sharing as much as we can and let people know what's going on and how they can get help. Because you never know when you're going to need help. And we definitely needed a lot of help. I do want to say that, my wife talked about people helping. Well, my unit also raised funds to help us out. And I'm really appreciative of that. And there's a lot of people that, step forward to help, including the battalion that I was under at the border. And so I really appreciate them also.
Absolutely. Well, we're so happy to hear that despite everything that has gone on, that Nala's continued to be, her happy self, and that you had a community, not just, between your unit, the fire department, your church, Dogs on Deployment. So happy to hear that, when it matters most, people do genuinely care, and we're there to help you. And thank you so much for taking the time to share your story with us today. I really appreciate it. And looking forward to seeing more of Nala throughout the year, and can't wait to also see the adorable photos that'll be coming our way to share with everyone, because you can talk about that stoop that she loves so much. I know I have a photo of it somewhere already.
We do have a
You do
photo of
love
her on
that.
the throne.
Can't wait to share that with everyone. Well, thank
I
you so
think
much.
that photo was taken by my daughter.
Well, they're adorable, and I can't wait to share more of Nala because she's awesome. Hey there, it's Elisa Johnson, president of Dogs on Deployment. As a veteran and a pet owner, I know firsthand the challenges military members face, especially when it comes to pet ownership during deployment, training, or PCS moves overseas. That's why I created Dogs on Deployment.
We are the only free-to-use nationwide online network of volunteer pet boarders willing to care for military member pets during their service commitments. We have one goal: to prevent unnecessary pet relinquishment by service members due to their service commitments. No military member should have to give up their beloved pet when duty calls. But we have one problem. We need you in order to help us achieve mission success. If you support the troops and love animals, you can sign up to volunteer to board one of our pets in need or make a donation online to support our Hero Pet Boarding Network. Don't wait. Visit dogsondeployment.org to get started. And don't forget to follow us on social media too. And hey, just because we're called Dogs on Deployment doesn't mean we don't help cats too. I've got dogs, cats, and even chickens, and through our network, we've helped every type of pet. So don't wait. Visit dogsondeployment.org today to support your troops and their pets.